I'm Olivia Boughton, your host of Tea and Talk. Today, I'm joined by my guest, Cheryl Hooker. Cheryl, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you for having me, Olivia. This should be fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing all kinds of things about you. But before we get to that, we have to start with our tea, as per usual. So I'm going to start by telling you about this tea set. I told you it would be a surprise on the show. So this tea set belongs to my very dear friend, Angela Lundrigan, who many of our viewers may know, and you know certainly, as the organist at St. Peter's, as well as St. Bridget and St. Stanislaus Kostka churches in West Rutland. And she allowed me to borrow this tea set to use on the show. And I'm so happy to be using it with you today, because I think that you have a child who went to school with one of her children, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, at MSJ many years ago, perhaps?
I think in kindergarten, maybe.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so maybe Christ the King.
No, it was MSJ's kindergarten.
MSJ had a kindergarten?
MSJ had a kindergarten.
Oh, gosh, I'm learning something.
Yeah, there you go. They did. And I think one of my kids, how old are her children?
Oh, gosh, they're I think in their 40s, upper 40s.
Probably Sam.
Yeah. So, side note there, and now I know that MSJ had a kindergarten at some point. So, this is Angela's tea set, and it was gifted to her by her aunt, Angie DeBone. So, this is something that's been, part of Angela's family for a long time. So,
beautiful.
I'm very happy to be using it on the show today. So, thank you to Angela for allowing me to present this to the world here.
All right.
So, in thinking about what tea I would serve in this, I thought a nice Earl Grey would be fun, but I chose one that's a little twist on Earl Grey. It's called Victorian Earl Grey. So it has, and I actually have a little bit of the loose leaf here because it looks so pretty. Right? So not only does it have the bergamot flavor, which is what is distinctive to Earl Grey tea, but it also has rose petals and lavender and a little bit of rosemary. So it has a very unique flavor, I think, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. I don't know that it's usual, but I thought it looks very flowery. It is very flowery. It goes with our very flowery tea set here.
Lovely.
So, if you will pass me your cup, I will pour you some. I better hold on to the top here. And then I do have sugar as well as some milk, if you take your tea that way.
Oh, I'll just take it black, thank you.
Okay. Well, I will have a little bit of both of those things. Yeah, one of the things that I enjoy about this show is that I get to serve different tea and in some ways to experiment with different tea. This is a tea that I did not know of until kind of recently, and discovered it in a shop and was like, oh, that sounds interesting, so I'm going to try this. And I really like it. So you'll tell me what you think, but we will take a little sip of our tea.
It's nice.
It's surprisingly smooth, I think, for...
Yeah,
it has
with
a very
lot
interesting...
of different flavors,
Yeah.
That's really neat.
It smells very nice, too, I think. When you first bring it up, you can smell the rose and...
So it's nice to be drinking different teas.
Right, trying something new that you haven't tried before. And you did mention to me that you like Earl Grey, so I know at least I have that.
I do, but mine is just the plain old ordinary Earl Grey, not this flowery. But this is really nice.
Fancy Earl Grey. Yeah. Yes, you're welcome. Well, thank you so much for being here. So people who watch PEG TV regularly and watch the government channel will have seen you at the Rutland City Board of Aldermen meetings, because you are on the Rutland City Board of Aldermen. Right. And so they maybe know you, but not that much about you. So I'd like to hear a little bit today about, your childhood, where you grew up, and what that was like.
Been here for a long time, Olivia.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I was born, when I was born, my parents were living on Meadow Street,
Okay.
right down from St. Peter's Church, which was where I was baptized, and then went to St. Peter's School and to MSJ. And haven't lived in too many other places. You know, moved to Church Street, that wasn't too far away. Then moved to Royce Street and have been there for almost 50 years.
So you were a Rutlander through and through.
Yeah, not many other places. We did spend a little time away. We spent one summer in Colorado, which was fun. A couple of summers, actually, while my husband was taking a course out at the University of Colorado at Boulder. And then we spent a year in England, which was a highlight of our family experience when George taught over at high school in England, and we took our 4 kids and lived there for a year, which was
That sounds like quite an adventure.
really, it was exciting. It was life-changing. And yeah, so
I know I know some of your siblings, and you grew up in a rather big
Large family.
Italian family.
Yep, there were 6 of us.
Okay.
That spanned 20 years. So it's, you know, a lot of years between the oldest and the youngest.
Wow.
And yeah.
Yeah.
So that was, my parents didn't really move very far away. They were neighbors to one another when they
Oh my
met.
gosh.
My father and my mother's brother were best friends, and that's how my mother and father were connected. They ended up living in the house that my grandfather owned, and it, you
So
know,
a lot
didn't-
of heritage and history
yeah,
there.
yeah, really kind of staying close to home all these years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like almost kind of a family value, right?
You know, it was easier back then, I'm sure, although it was my oldest brother who moved away. He moved to Boston and lived there for many years, then came back and lived in Bombazine for a while, and then went to Florida, and now at 91, he's back in Rutland.
Oh
so
my
we're
gosh.
glad to have him back.
Oh, that's nice.
But yeah, and I think it was easier, certainly easier for families to kind of stay together
Yes.
in those times. Now we're so mobile.
Yeah, we
Our
are.
own 4 kids are, it's not really far away, but far enough so that we don't see them every day.
Right. Yeah,
so-
I think that's more and more common, you know.
Yeah,
that-
for sure,
Yep.
for sure.
And you're right, we are more mobile than we were, you know.
Yeah.
To think about, you have a sibling who's 91, so, you know, back then in, let's see, 1932 or 3, depending on when his birthday is, right? It was a very different landscape.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was quite adventuresome to go off and
Oh, yes.
you know, try to make his way, which he did.
Yeah.
He married a woman from near Boston and lived down there for many years.
Yeah. So where did you go to school?
I went to St. Peter's,
Yeah.
to MSJ's kindergarten first. Yeah, you know, MSJ was an interesting facility because it started out as a boarding school. You know,
Yes.
girls lived at
Yeah,
the school, and it had a kindergarten. It had, I believe, an elementary school, and then the high school. My older brother went to elementary school, went to 8th grade at MSJ's
MSJ,
elementary school.
Yeah.
And then the elementary school moved over, I think, to St. Peter's. That's where I went to school, but I did go to MSJ's kindergarten. And then it was kind of, it didn't happen for quite a few years, and then it was reinstituted, and my own kids were able to go to MSJ's kindergarten.
Yeah.
So that's
very
that was
unique.
great. That
Yeah,
was great.
that's very
And then they ended up at Christ the King for a while before going into the public schools. Yeah.
So, and then you went to high school?
Went to MSJ for high school.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
okay. And
Just up the hill. I mean, it was
Yeah.
very convenient.
Yeah.
Again, neighborhood schools, you know, that whole concept of your community being right out your doorway.
yeah,
You know, it
yeah,
was great.
Yeah. Do you have any fun memories? I mean, just I'm thinking, right? You're so close to school. You walked there, I'm sure.
Walked to school.
Right? Any fun memories of heading back and forth to school, or fun things you used to do?
You know, there would be a steady stream of students going up and down the street early in the morning and in the afternoon. And we would just walk up to St. Peter's. We had to go home for lunch because we lived so close.
Yes.
It was a treat to stay for lunch at St. Peter's
But you didn't get to do that. You had to go home.
We didn't get to do that. We had to go home. And, you had an hour off for lunch. You went home and you came back and played on the playgrounds. And
Yeah, I'm sure it looked very different than it looks today.
It did. We called, St. Peter's School.
Yes.
There's the old building.
Yes.
And then what we still refer to as the new building. Although I went to 7th and 8th grade there, so it isn't very new. But it was, it evolved.
Sure.
Certainly evolved. And I actually ended up teaching there my first year teaching.
Wow.
I taught 7th and 8th grade.
Oh my gosh.
And it was the last year that St. Peter's, as a Catholic school, was functioning.
Yeah.
Then the school, they turned it over to the public school for space.
Yes.
We actually had the 7th and 8th grade upstairs, St. Peter's, and downstairs it was a public school.
Wow. So you taught there, and
did.
how old were you then? Were you?
Well, it was 72,
Yeah.
1972, I think, that it closed.
Yeah.
So I was 22.
Yeah. So close-ish to the kids' age. I mean, you're teaching, right, 11, 12, 13-year-olds.
Yeah.
Was that very difficult? That's a hard age, I think.
Well, a lot of them I knew because they all lived in the neighborhood.
There's an advantage to that, right?
Advantages and disadvantages, I think. I actually had, some of my nieces and nephews.
Right, that's a different dynamic, right? Or when you
when
you have a parent who's a teacher and then you have them in school, and that can make things easy or very awkward, right?
It can, for sure.
Yeah. So, what kind of things were you interested in as a young person here in Rutland? And I'm curious about how you sort of got into public service and what
that was accidental.
Oh, okay.
It was. I wasn't doing a lot, certainly politically. We were a young married couple. We were having children. We started a family quickly after getting married and had 4 children, relatively close in age. And I had worked on Rita McCaffrey's Senate campaign in 1988.
Wow, okay.
And one night in 1989, I got a call from Rita saying, your representative from your area is retiring because of health. And I told the governor you'd be interested in his seat.
Oh my gosh.
So it was, it was really serendipitous. That was a lot of years ago, and I've been in and out of politics ever since.
So Rita is the one that...
Rita's, it was her fault.
Or we have her to thank.
Well,
we have her to thank.
Some people think so, and others might not.
We're all entitled to our opinions, I guess, right?
True.
Right.
This is true.
But you've been very, I think, involved within the community and a real advocate for the community for a long time.
It's home,
right.
And you want home to be a place where people feel comfortable and feel accepted and feel loved and can succeed. So this is what we hope for.
Right.
I served in the House, I served in the Senate, I've served on the board, and it's been a real privilege.
Yeah. Do you have something that you feel most proud of that you accomplished in your public service?
It's interesting because there are so many things that you work on, and I think certainly I was in the legislature at some very interesting moments. I was there when we did the Clean Indoor Air Bill, which banned smoking in public buildings, and I reported that bill. So I think that's one of the high points of my career. I was there for civil unions when we passed that, and I had been out of the House and Senate, and then was appointed again just in time for that. Then I was there for Act 60, the Education Act.
Yes.
I've been there for, and this last time that I was in the Senate, it was during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I've been there for some really interesting moments.
Yeah.
And
historic
moments, really.
Sure. Yep.
So I am proud of that. Proud to have been part of it, certainly a small part, but glad to have been able to do that. And now on the Board of Aldermen, there are people who have been there for many, many years. I can't lay claim to that, but it's been a real privilege to be part of that as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your service. And my last guest on the show was Kiana McClure, who you serve with on the Rutland City Board of Aldermen. And I told her that I had invited you to come on. And she said to me, well, Cheryl got an award back in May. And I said, really? I had no idea. So I said to myself, I'm going to bring this up and I'm going to make you talk about it, if you would. So this was, I've forgotten the name, so you'll remind me.
Curtis Hoff Award.
Curtis Hoff Award, right? For your service.
Yeah, and it was a complete surprise. I got a call one day saying that I had been nominated and was to receive that award. It was out of the blue. The award is for, as you said, for service. And it was really an honor, certainly an honor.
Was there a ceremony that
there
took
was,
place?
up in Burlington. Yeah. And Curtis and Hoff were two stalwarts of the Democratic Party here in Vermont. Tim Curtis was, or David Curtis, how do I call him Tim? Was a lawyer, head of the Democratic Party. And he really was instrumental in guiding Democrats, through the process for many years. Certainly Phil Hoff was a person who changed the history of Vermont as the first Democratic governor in 100 years.
It's amazing.
To be elected. So that was a real honor for me. A lot of people I know are deserving of that award, and I felt like, wow, that was something to be proud of.
Yeah. So. I'm just thinking as I'm sitting here and listening to you that, I don't know, in a lot of ways I think you kind of embody what I imagine a good public servant to be. And that is that you have worked very hard for your community because you love your community, and you are very humble about it. And I know that, and Kiana and I discussed this, that if I didn't bring it up, you would not have mentioned that you got this award. And I think, I hope that people watching can appreciate that, because a lot of times what we see from people in the political arena is a lot of self-serving attitudes, and not so much locally, I think, because I think in local politics people are really highly invested, but it's easy to look on the national stage and maybe be kind of desensitized to people who are in public office. But I think that sitting here with you, you're I think very genuine in that you're giving credit to other people who are also deserving public servants. And I know you mean that, and I know that in many ways that is true, right? There are lots of other people who are doing good work, but you've done a lot of good work. And
well, thanks. Thank you. And I have to say that you talked about the local aspect of this. When you're in local politics, you're there.
Yeah.
It's there every day. You meet people on the street. They want to know what's going on.
Right.
And so you're really involved. Even a step away, to the state level, it isn't so much being kind of on the ground, boots on the ground, as they say. So I really admire people who are in local politics for a long time, and want to give them all the credit that they deserve, and hope that people will understand, as you said, that this is something that people are doing because they care for the community.
That's right. That's right.
So
It's true, and I do think that if you're watching Board of Aldermen meetings and other meetings in local municipalities here, you can see that that people care very much about their home. As you said earlier, right? This is home, and you want home to be a place that people feel good and feel happy and feel welcome and feel that they belong.
Yeah, for sure. And we know that home has changed.
True.
It's changed from the time when my home was, from West Street to like St. Peter's School.
That's right. Right.
And
3 blocks. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's changed now, and for the better in many respects.
Yes.
And we certainly have challenges that we need to face, and we need to work on to make this place safe and secure and
I think
open.
That's always, in some respect, part of life, is always looking at how things are and then striving to make them better in some way.
For sure.
And I think that is how we contribute to a meaningful life for ourselves and a better world for the people who come after us, and for the people who are around us right now in this moment.
Yeah. And sometimes it's difficult now because we're so attuned to what's going on everywhere. Certainly
Very
with
true.
the media and social media.
Very true.
We're looking outside a lot, but we have a lot of introspection, I guess it would be, to do in our own communities.
Yeah, that's a beautiful point, and I think a good one, because when we, right, and this is true for any individual life, right, when we look at ourselves and we work on the things that, we individually need to work on, then we become a better version of ourselves for the people around us, and then that, right, that spreads. Yeah. And it's the same with our communities. When we work on making our communities where we physically live and where we are better places, that grows from there and that spreads outward from there. Not always easy, but I think worth, as you demonstrate, worth the struggle.
Worth the struggle.
Worth the struggle.
For sure.
So I told you before we started that the time goes very quickly, and we have a few minutes left. But it does go very fast. So I just want to ask you. You've lived here for most of your life. You said you lived in England for a year or so, and you've obviously traveled. You've been other places. Tell me something that you really love about this area in Vermont, Rutland. What do you love about this place?
I love the location because of the mountains that surround us, and it almost feels as if we're being comforted and secured.
You've got your Vermont on as well,
that my son gave me.
Yeah. So I know. I'm just thinking Vermont is just kind of quintessential, right? Mountains, hills, and we have all that right here.
Rutland especially, because we're kind of we're in this valley, we're in this little area that's surrounded and almost comforted
we're
by this.
cradled
by it. Good word. Good word. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. I was at a party the other night for New Year's Eve, and there were, it was an intimate group, and we were all talking about different people, and it was amazing how everybody seemed to know all of the people in different ways, because here we are, we're a small community, and people know one another.
You do.
So when you go out on the streets and you go into the stores, or you're going to a concert, you know people there. And that's comforting. I mean, we went to a concert up in Burlington, and I looked around, I said to my grandkids, this is really strange, I don't know anybody here. Oh, wait a minute, there's somebody I know. And I did know somebody, but I only knew 3 people out of the 300 that were there. If you're in Rutland, you tend to know more people. Although I have to say that there are a lot of new people in the area, a lot of young people, which is wonderful.
Great.
As much as it's great to say that I've been here for just about all of my life, so far, it's nice to see new faces. And to realize that people are taking up the banner and moving forward with the community. So this is good. A lot of new businesses on Center Street and Merchants Road. And, good stuff happening.
Good growth.
Good growth. Good growth. It's not huge. It's not, so far we haven't hit that, that huge industry that could come to Rutland, but and make a huge difference, but we're doing it incrementally, and that's something that I think we need to be cognizant of and be happy about.
Yes, and celebrate those
things.
Positive things. No matter how small they are. I think that's a good life lesson, right? Celebrate all the little things, because life is short, and we just never know. We never know.
You never know.
Yeah, I love what you said, that it's comforting to you to know people in the community, because I feel that that's true. And some of my other guests have mentioned similar things, that they love that they know people here, and I think sometimes we might take that for granted, or think, oh, well, I know so many people, maybe it's not big enough, but I think that's one way to look at it. But in the other token, you know everybody, so everyone is your friend, right? Wow. Everyone is your neighbor. Everyone is here, loving this place in the same way.
Having that commonality.
Yes, exactly, right. And feeling like a real sense of community wherever you are and whatever it is that you're doing.
And not to sound Pollyanna-ish, because I know that we have our problems.
Absolutely.
But, we need to work on them together. And I think that is a possibility.
I think, being positive, I personally feel is an important virtue. Because it's easy to be negative, especially when you look around, and there are issues that need to be addressed. But I think having positivity and trying is what is really most important and makes the biggest
Trying
difference.
Together.
Trying together.
And to minimize the fractions, the cracks that occur, to try to heal them over, which is good.
So, well, this has been a lovely time with you, Cheryl.
Thanks for doing this, Olivia.
Thank you so much for coming on. This has been a lovely conversation.
It's been my pleasure.
And I hope everyone out there watching has enjoyed being here with us today. And I will see you next time on Tea and Talk.